Very good afternoon to you.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Was it was it a night of nerves for you, or was it something you could enjoy?
It was brilliant, Mike. I mean, I was working like a lot of journalists. I mean, I've pretty much worked on every England tournament for the last 3 decades, so I'm lucky in that respect. So I've had about three, like a lot of people in the country, had about 3 hours sleep.
Yeah,
But
that's about all you ever have, is it? You work so hard.
Right. But you know what, Mike? It was like a boil of frustration, fear, and anger finally being burst. And I think this has to be the start of our lives back. This is the start of the life affirming
Mm.
deliciousness to see everybody laughing and dancing and singing and drinking and hugging one another. They can never take this away from us now, Mike. I mean, this has to be it.
I think you're absolutely right. And I've been saying all week that this is not just about football, because it has been a rough year. It has been awful for so many people. And you can see the relief in people's eyes, in the way that they're behaving, in the way that they're reacting. I mean, when I was watching some of the fan zones at the Ukraine game, there were kids, sort of teenagers, in tears, because it's quite emotional for them.
It is emotional, Mike. I mean, I was lucky enough to be working on the Euro '96, our competition as well. And I remember walking out of Wembley after the Spain game, feeling so uplifted, so brilliant. It was the best feeling in the world. And then, in the semi-finals, obviously we lost on penalties to Germany. And walking out of there, then, Mike, it was just awful. It was this feeling of just despair, and it was like I watched groups of men try to beat up BMW cars. It was insanity. I just really hope now, Mike, that on Sunday at the final that we actually go through, because I think now to actually have this feeling of euphoria, that's what it is. It really is that. And I don't think I'm being melodramatic here. I mean, it's because of what we've all been through for the last 15 months. This is what is so needed. It's uniting. And I know you've been talking a lot this morning about, will the Welsh be supporting us? Will the Scots be supporting us? And I really hope that just for once, because of the unique nature of the times we're living in, that we actually can all get behind, not necessarily the whole England thing, but the whole concept of our freedoms being celebrated again. Our life coming back to normal, because that's what I don't want a new normal, Mike. I want normal.
Yes.
And we had a taste of that, and it was absolutely delicious. And I think to use a footballing analogy, for anyone now to try and take that away from us, I mean, you've totally lost the dressing room already. It just cannot happen now.
No, I know. Yeah. And I feel as though, I'm still frustrated in a way, not by the football, but by the way that things are still unfolding. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think the high streets will kind of return to normal. There's calls already for the pubs to be able to open to full capacity on Sunday. I think they should do that. They should also get 90-odd thousand into Wembley.
Yeah.
But then I listened to Grant Shapps this morning talking about the travel lists and all of that. And you just think, come on, man. I mean, can we not do away with all of this absolute and utter nonsense? If you're taking the view that we have to live with this, why on earth am I going to have to pay some ludicrous amount of money to get my kids, myself, and their mother tested if I want to go anywhere? Why on earth could I go somewhere that could end up becoming a red zone, which I then have to go and quarantine in a hotel for $2,000 for?
It doesn't look. A lot of this, Mike, as we've been talking about, on Talk Radio for over a year, doesn't make sense. And then you look at the jubilant scenes last night, which is absolutely fantastic, and then you go back to where we are with the, we have sort of some semblance of freedom, but we haven't got proper freedom until August. And the rules are still in place about the number of people you can have at weddings and none of it makes sense anymore. And the whole travel thing, Mike, it's like the green list, the amber list, the red list. It's just. It doesn't make sense anymore. I'm not sure it ever entirely did.
No.
And you see how people are reacting now. I think that we're never going to go back to being sort of like controlled and micromanaged by a government that break their own rules.
Yeah.
And the thing all of us now have in the back of our minds, I mean, obviously it's gone on throughout, but I think Hancock was the final straw, was that you're setting rules for us. You don't hug people, you'll kill thousands of grannies. Meanwhile, you're bedding the hired help and breaking every rule imaginable. It's just insane. And I really do think now that if they tried any more, Mike, to inflict any more restrictions on any of us, we're just going to say, no, we are not doing it. And I think, I've never been one to go on marches, Mike. I mean, I'm not one of those people. But I think for the first time in my life, if they do try to, again, impose these awful, soul-destroying, life-sapping restrictions on us, I will actually be out there marching.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Because, I mean, watching Keir Starmer yesterday in the Prime Minister's Questions talking about what are you going to do when 100,000 people are infected every single day? Well, hang on. Why don't you wait until 100,000 people are infected every single day and then find out? Nobody's saying that's going to happen. Why are they continually pouring this kind of doom and gloom onto the fire to try and make it worse?
Well, we've been living in the worst case scenario now through the whole pandemic. And you know what, Mike? Not one of the worst case doomsday scenarios modelling have come true. They're just not accurate. And I do not understand why this government, and, well, it's not the government because they're not governing, are they? We're being governed by a bunch of unelected scientists. Why they are being allowed to terrify a population in this way. It doesn't make any sense. If you look at what other countries around the world have done, they have supported and encouraged and been there for populations. Our government has deliberately not only ruined businesses, as we all know, we've talked about extensively, but, the mental health aspects of this are going to go on forever. And it's like, what I'm really sick of now, Mike, is this constant, well, so many people died today, so many people infected. The infections mean nothing. Yeah. We know the link between infection and hospitalisation and death, thankfully, has been severed. And viruses mutate. They do it thousands of times. And, the worst thing this morning, Mike, waking up after those 3 hours, was that there were still scientists going on about this is reckless, we should not be doing this. Going to die. There will be thousands and thousands of new infections. And it's like, what do they want, Mike? Yeah. Do they want us to wait until the whole world are double jabbed before they let us have our lives back? And it's like, it's not going to happen. That can never.
Every time they set a new sort of level, it changes, it moves, it goes higher or it goes, further away. Every single time they've done anything like this. And that's why I'm so frustrated about the travel news that we've had today. Because I simply don't trust Grant Shapps not to turn the country that I decide to go to into a red list country. And if he does that, that costs me personally an awful lot of money, apart from all of the heartache that it causes for everybody else. I can't work for 2 weeks because I have to go to a hotel. That's not good enough.
Well, precisely, Mike. And, what I've never been able to understand, and no one really adequately ever explains it, is why the tests we have to pay £200, £300 for, if we're daring to travel, you can get free at other times.
Yeah, right. I know, it makes no sense to me at all. I'm told there are cheaper tests now, but you still have to pay for them. If you've got a family of 4, as I do, that's quite a lot of money.
It's a hell of a lot of money, and most ordinary people. But the other thing with this, Mike, is the fact that high-worth individuals are exempt.
Of course.
You are a UEFA VIP or someone travelling to the G7, you're allowed to do so, in your private jet. And don't even get me started on the climate change aspect of that, because that's exempt too. You don't have to worry about that. But us lot, you want to take your lads on holiday. I'd love to go abroad and see my godson who lives in Spain. But like you, Mike, it's like I can't risk them suddenly deciding that a green list country is suddenly going to become a red list. And I have to, in one of those hideous hotels where you're paying another £2,000 to be fed muck, and kept as a prisoner.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. Let's just finish up with UEFA, actually, since you mentioned them, because I see just before you came on that they've decided to charge England with a variety of offences, apparently, due from last night, which also includes booing the Danish national anthem. Now, you're a football fan. Booing surely is part of football, isn't it? That's what happens. They didn't like it when people were booing the taking of the knee, but I'm sorry. I mean, they can't just keep stopping football fans from doing what they want to do when they've paid the money they've paid, can they?
This is insane. If you're going to make booing an offence up there with being sort of like racist or violence at football, I mean, where does it end? No. I mean, football may as well just not go. I don't agree with booing, Mike. I don't agree. Despite being a West Ham fan for 5 decades, I've never booed the team, no matter how bad they've been, and I don't agree with booing the England side because I don't believe it does your team any good. And I'm not really that great on booing rival teams either, especially not Denmark, what they went through with Eriksson, and they're a loved team and they tried really hard, and fair play to the fans and the players. They did a good job, but it's like fans will boo. That is part of sport. That is what happens. I mean, it's insane to be investigated and fined for that.
Yeah.
This is what it's about. I mean, it happens. I mean, that's what football fans do.
Well, exactly. And I mean, if you're not allowed to sing, and I know that these are controversial subjects at times, but if the authorities that run the football game, who basically, don't forget, these are the same people that said, oh, it's all about the fans, when the International Super League was a big threat to UEFA, they went, oh, no, it's all about the fans. But no, you can't boo. You can't sing the songs that they don't want you to sing. You can't do all sorts of other things. I mean, they're also apparently, there was some idiot who pointed a laser pen at Kasper Schmeichel, which quite rightly should be punished, but they should be able to find out who did that. They should be able to find the guy and ban him from going to the next set of matches. But I'm not comfortable with this kind of, overarching police force about everything that we do.
It's where we are now, isn't it, Mike, though? I mean, we have, wrongly, I think, and I think you'll agree, given up our freedoms during the pandemic. I mean, initially none of us knew what was happening and we did it to help and protect others. But now they're extending that into every aspect of our lives. And it's like, I really do feel that I am living, in an Orwellian 1984, where you have to behave how they want you to behave. Meanwhile, they are okay to fly in on their private jets, have their prawn sandwiches, gather in large groups and do whatever they want. But us plebs, it's not all about the fans, Mike, anymore. It's all about the money, them telling us what to do. And I hope last night that all of us plebs get together and celebrate our freedom and never go back to where we were. So come on, England, on Sunday